1. The power of anticipation. Women's brains are wired to react more intensely to the anticipation of a reward than to the reward itself. It's a literal dopamine spike triggered by the buildup, the waiting, and the excitement of what's coming next. When a woman is looking forward to something, her brain releases a massive wave of dopamine, the feel-good chemical associated with desire and motivation, long before the event actually takes place. This means that the psychological tension, the daydreaming, and the mental preparation create a much more powerful neurological high than the final destination ever could. This deep-seated programming influences every major area of life, from the way she pursues long-term career milestones to how she handles daily experiences. For example, a woman might get just as much joy, if not more, out of researching destinations, booking flights, and picking out outfits for a vacation as she does when she is actually sitting on the beach. In romantic relationships, this effect dictates the entire dynamic of attraction. The slow burn, the subtle tension, and the space between texts are not just games, they are essential fuel for female interest. If everything is handed over instantly without any build-up, the dopamine loop cuts short and the excitement dies. To keep a woman genuinely engaged, whether in business, marketing, or romance, you have to understand that the narrative arc matters infinitely more than the conclusion. It is the thrill of the chase, the mystery of what might happen tomorrow, and the deliberate pacing of an experience that captures her mind. When you remove the anticipation, you remove the value. Ultimately, a female mind thrives on the beauty of the journey, meaning that whoever masters the art of creating a compelling buildup masters the key to her attention. 2. The illusion of truth. The female brain is highly evolutionarily tuned to monitor social information and recognize patterns within a community. Historically, a woman's survival and the safety of her children depended entirely on her ability to integrate seamlessly with the tribe, decode social cues, and internalize collective wisdom. While this hyper-awareness was once a brilliant defense mechanism, the modern world exploits it through a psychological phenomenon known as the illusory truth effect. This effect dictates that the human brain naturally confuses familiarity with factual accuracy. When a woman hears a specific statement, narrative, or critique repeated multiple times from different angles, her brain stops analyzing the statement critically and begins to accept it as objective reality. This happens entirely below conscious awareness, meaning that even if a piece of information is completely illogical or flat-out false, sheer repetition will eventually give it the weight of absolute truth. This psychological vulnerability plays out with devastating impact across cultural messaging, relationship dynamics, and internal dialogue. If the media, a social circle, or a toxic partner repeats a negative narrative long enough, it bypasses her logical filters and rewrites her entire worldview. Even worse, this loop turns inward in the form of negative self-talk. When a woman repeatedly tells herself she isn't smart enough, capable enough, or attractive enough, her brain eventually registers those recurring thoughts as permanent facts. It completely reshapes her internal reality, driving her behavior and dictating her confidence levels. This is exactly why the women place themselves in are so critical. The stories, advice, and opinions she allows herself to hear on a loop will literally dictate what she believes is possible for her life, proving that what is repeated consistently always wins the battle for the mind. 3. Hyperactive mirror neurons. Empathy in women isn't just a deliberate emotional choice or a personality trait. It's a biological reality driven by hyperactive mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are specialized brain cells that fire both when an individual performs an action and when they witness someone else performing that same action. In the female brain, these cells are exceptionally active and sensitive. When a person nearby is experiencing intense joy, deep anxiety, or heavy sadness, a woman's brain doesn't just logically observe that emotion from a distance. Instead, her mirror neurons instantly fire up, replicating that exact emotional state within her own nervous system. She is literally feeling a direct internal echo of your pain or excitement. On a neurological level, she is absorbing and living the emotions of the people around her in real time, making her a human emotional sponge. This phenomenon explains why emotional contagion is so incredibly powerful in female friendships, families, and romantic dynamics. Emotions travel and infect a room like wildfire because a woman's brain is biologically designed to reflect the room's energy. While this hyper-empathy allows for deep bonding, profound intuition, and unparalleled emotional intelligence, it carries a massive hidden cost. Constantly mirroring the world is physically, mentally, and biochemically exhausting. If a woman is trapped in a toxic relationship, a chaotic workplace, or surrounded by chronic complainers, she isn't just witnessing negativity, she is neurologically experiencing it around the clock. Her stress hormones skyrocket just from being near the friction. Because of this intense wiring, a woman must be radically protective of her social circle and physical environment, as a negative space will quite literally drain her life force. Quick pause. If you want to master the hidden mechanics of human psychology, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's keep moving. 4. Psychological reactance. The moment a woman feels her personal freedom, choice, or autonomy is being restricted, a powerful psychological defiance known as reactance kicks in. This is an intense knee-jerk emotional alarm system that activates whenever human beings perceive a threat to their free will. Tell a woman she cannot do something, that a specific path is closed to her, or that a certain choice is completely forbidden, and watch how fast her psychology shifts. Suddenly, that forbidden option becomes 10 times more desirable than it ever was before. This isn't about her being intentionally difficult, contrarian, or rebellious just for the sake of it. It is a deeply ingrained evolutionary defense mechanism designed specifically to protect self-determination and personal boundaries. Throughout history, women have faced systemic, cultural, and relational attempts to limit their choices, being told what was appropriate, what was allowed, and what roles they had to play. As a direct result, the psychological reactance response is often amplified and highly sensitive in the female psyche. The second someone tries to employ pressure, manipulation, or heavy-handed control, her brain flags it as an existential threat to her freedom. Instead of backing down, an intense internal push mandates that she reassert her independence at all costs. This is why ultimatums, controlling behavior, and aggressive persuasion techniques always backfire spectacularly with women. The moment she smells control, her respect evaporates, and her brain focuses entirely on breaking the restriction to prove that she belongs to herself. 5. Emotional memory encoding. Women do not hold grudges out of spite. Their brains are biologically built to create intense memory formations during emotionally charged events. While completely neutral days and mundane moments fade into the background, any conversation, argument, or shared milestone wrapped in high emotion is immediately tagged by the female brain with near photographic clarity. The moment an experience carries significant emotional weight, whether it is a surge of joy or a stinging betrayal, the amygdala and hippocampus work in overdrive to lock that event into permanent storage. The exact words spoken, the subtle tone of voice, the physical context, and the visceral feeling in the room are permanently filed away. This isn't a conscious choice to hoard past grievances. It is pure, unadulterated biology. This hyper-detailed memory system is actually an ancestral tracking mechanism that was vital for survival. In early human history, ancestral women relied heavily on navigating complex social structures, reading tribal dynamics, and identifying who was safe, who was cooperative, and who posed a threat to them and their children. Remembering a social slight, a broken promise, or an act of aggression wasn't petty. It kept people alive. In modern relationships, however, this evolutionary superpower can make it look like a woman simply refuses to let things go. When a conflict arises, a comment made 6 months or even 3 years ago can be recalled instantly, with all of its original emotional intensity. Understanding this biology bridges a massive communication gap. She isn't weaponizing the past. Her brain is simply presenting an emotionally vivid record that remains completely accessible. 6. The task switching price. True multitasking is a neurological impossibility for everyone, but women possess an advanced ability for rapid task switching. The human brain is physically incapable of processing 2 high-level complex cognitive tasks at the exact same split second. What looks like seamless multitasking is actually a high-speed mental game of ping pong. A woman's brain is uniquely configured to shift focus between entirely different complex activities, like managing a high-stakes career project, organizing family logistics, and responding to social obligations, much faster and smoother than the average man's brain. Because the neural pathways connecting the left and right hemispheres are highly optimized, she can drop one train of thought, pick up another, and return to the first one with incredible agility. However, this impressive mental gymnastics comes with a massive hidden cognitive cost that society completely ignores. Every single time the brain is forced to switch gears, it burns up vital glucose and oxygen, paying a steep switch cost in mental energy. This rapid-fire transition leaves behind a phenomenon called attention residue, meaning a small piece of her focus remains stuck on the previous task while she is trying to handle the new one. Over the course of a day, constantly jumping between roles causes profound cognitive fatigue, erodes deep focus, and spikes stress levels. The cultural expectation that women should naturally be able to effortlessly juggle a million things at once isn't just unfair, it is scientifically flawed and neurologically ignorant. While her brain can switch gears faster, she still pays the full physical price for the exhaustion it creates. 7. The persuasion pipeline. Due to deep social conditioning around cooperation and maintaining relational harmony, women are highly susceptible to a powerful psychological phenomenon known as the foot in the door technique. From a very young age, girls are often socialized to be helpful, accommodating, and attuned to the needs of others. This creates an internal default setting that favors saying yes to small, reasonable requests. When someone asks a woman for a minor, effortless favor, something so small it feels entirely harmless to agree to, she will naturally comply. However, this small initial yes completely alters her internal landscape. The moment she agrees, her brain updates its self-image, unconsciously deciding, "I am a helpful, cooperative person who supports this individual." This minor agreement sets a psychological trap based on the human need for consistency. When that same person returns later with a much larger, far more demanding request, a powerful internal pressure kicks in. The female mind experiences a strong aversion to cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable feeling of acting against one's established identity. To look consistent both to herself and to the outside world, she feels a massive psychological urge to say yes to the big request, even if she internally wants to reject it. A small, innocent favor effectively locks in the momentum for a major future commitment. This persuasion pipeline is why recognizing the tactic is so liberating. Understanding that a small past agreement does not obligate a future sacrifice empowers a woman to set firm boundaries and say no when the stakes get too high. 8. The language of eye contact. The right amount of eye contact triggers an immediate, measurable release of oxytocin in a woman's brain, instantly laying the groundwork for trust, intimacy, and emotional resonance. Snorts. Because women are biologically and socially conditioned to be highly attuned to nonverbal cues, the way someone looks at them carries immense weight in an interaction. When you hold a woman's gaze with a relaxed, open expression, it signals safety, focused attention, and genuine respect. It tells her brain that you are fully present, transparent, and emotionally engaged in the moment. This neural connection creates a powerful sense of bonding, making eye contact one of the most potent tools for building an authentic, deep alignment between two people. However, the line between deep connection and an existential threat response is razor thin. If eye contact becomes prolonged, unblinking, or overly intense, her brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, instantly flags it as an aggressive, invasive, or predatory signal. Women are incredibly sensitive to these micro distinctions. They can feel the exact shift when eye contact moves from saying, "I see you and value your presence," to saying, "I am trying to dominate or control this space." In an instant, her nervous system will switch from safety to high alert, causing her walls to go up and completely transforming her assessment of the interaction. Context, comfort, and mutual comfort dictate the entire experience, proving that gaze is a language that must be spoken with care. 9. Authority and compliance. Statistically, women are more likely to comply with authority figures, even when they internally disagree with the command or feel deep discomfort with the situation. This compliance dynamic does not stem from a lack of independent thought or structural weakness. It is the direct result of intense childhood socialization. Across most cultures, girls are heavily rewarded for being agreeable, polite, avoiding conflict, and maintaining social peace at all costs. They are taught to be good girls who don't make waves or challenge the status quo. This conditioning runs so deep into the subconscious that it becomes an automated behavioral script that follows them directly into adulthood. This deep-seated programming creates severe internal friction when a woman finds herself facing a figure of authority, whether that is a boss, a medical professional, a societal leader, or a dominant partner. Even if her intuition and logic are screaming that something is wrong, unjust, or incorrect, the primitive fear of social disapproval, rejection, or causing a scene creates a massive barrier to speaking up. The pressure to conform and submit to the perceived leader often overrides her personal truth in the moment. Becoming consciously aware of this automatic compliance loop is the absolute first step toward shattering it. By recognizing that this urge to agree is just an old socialized script, a woman can learn to separate healthy respect from unhealthy submission, giving herself the explicit permission to assert her own boundaries and challenge authority whenever it crosses the line. 10. The sunk cost trap. Once a woman invests her time, emotional energy, or effort into a relationship or career path, walking away becomes incredibly difficult due to a psychological trap known as the sunk cost fallacy. This fallacy is an irrational glitch in human logic that forces us to continue pouring resources into a losing venture simply because of what we have already spent in the past. When a woman faces a failing situation, her brain struggles to separate past investments from future potential. Instead of looking at the reality of the present moment, an internal voice whispers that she must keep trying, keep enduring, and keep giving to make all her past sacrifices, tears, and late nights worth something. The thought of walking away feels less like a smart, strategic pivot and more like throwing away a massive piece of her life. Because female psychology heavily weights deep emotional connection and loyalty, this trap springs shut with incredible force in romantic dynamics and long-term projects. Leaving a toxic partner, a stagnant marriage, or a dead-end career path can feel like a public admission of total failure. Her brain interprets quitting as a confirmation that all the time she invested was a complete waste, which is a deeply painful reality to accept. As a direct result, she will double down, staying trapped in broken dynamics and toxic cycles long after objective logic, friends, and family say,